successes because failure is not an option.
I wanted to also acknowledge and thank Chief Garcia and Ana Aguilar. Keep forgetting her married name, but they will also be helping us. The BISD Police Department will also be partnering up with us and the kids. Our first target population is going to be BLA. Ms. Amy Garza is in the process of identifying all of the students. We'll be targeting 15 kids every 6 weeks. And we'll keep going to different campuses. All of the kids will have a parent permission slip that will be signed. There will be field trips involved, excuse me, in this initiative. So at this time, if you have any questions.
Go ahead, Ms.
First of all, I think it's a wonderful thing that you're doing. I want to thank you guys. I know your job is very difficult. I ask God to bless you every day, and I thank you for the fine example that you are to our children. Because of leaders like you, our kids grow up with hope and know that they can become anything they want to be just by being around you. So thank you for that, and I wish you the best.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Go ahead, Doctor.
Thank you. Just very briefly, thank you for your time, your commitment, your dedication. I think this is a fantastic program that could have an impact. If it impacts one child, that's already a successful program, and I'm sure it'll impact many more. So thank you.
Well, gentlemen, I had already met some of you, and I'm very, very happy and very pleased to have you here, and that the rest of my colleagues got to know what the program is all about. I believe in your all's program. I think Brownsville will set the example to other districts and other communities throughout the valley. I know some of you personally, and you guys have done a great job, and will continue to do a great job. You know, and I know that every child can make a difference with a good role model, and you guys will be that role model to our students that they need. So although my colleague to the right said, who are they here to pick up? And I told him, we're all U.S. citizens. I said, we're all U.S. citizens, Doc. Come on, don't start.
And we will not be asking any of the students their citizenship. We won't be doing that or asking. I mean, there'll be parent meetings, and we will not be asking for proof of citizenship at any of the meetings. So.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Because I know that if the people, in the audience or at home see and that there's Border Patrol, they're going to think, oh, my child, or me if I go to a meeting. So no, that's not. We will not be asking for proof of citizenship.
Thank you. And I know that, Dr. Montoya, I have a student there at BLA. I have several students that I talk to their parents, and I'm kind of mentoring and keeping them there. And I know that one of them is really excited, and hopefully, I know he will make you will make a difference in his life. Thank you so very much, and God bless you.
We will be sending you also an invitation on October the 25th for the first orientation with the parents. So please expect that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We now go to presentation of 2010 State Firemen's and Fire Marshal Association of Texas Poster Contest. Dr. Montoya.
Madam President, members of the board, the 2010-2011 State Firemen and Fire Marshals Association of Texas has a state poster contest, and we have some winners from Paredes Elementary and Lucio Middle School, and I turn it over to Ms. Monfiles and Dr. Rendon.
Madam President, Dr. Montoya, members of the board, Dr. Rendon.
Good evening, Dr. Montoya, Ms. Presas Garcia, and members of the board. We would like to recognize 3 students who qualified as state winners for the 2010-2011 State Firemen's and Fire Marshal Association of Texas Poster Contest. This contest has become a much sought-after contest in BISD classrooms. This competition raises awareness about fire prevention and helps our students express new ideas about how to be safe. BISD students enter over 400 entries annually. A first, second, and third place winner are selected for each of the 6 divisions, ranging from kindergarten to high school. 18 local winners advance to regional level competition, and some go on to state. This group of visual arts students is an essential part of what continues to keep the arts alive in BISD. I now ask our visual arts supervisor, Mr. Teodoro Estrada, to make the presentations.
Good evening, Dr. Montoya, Ms. Presas Garcia, and BISD board members. It is my pleasure to present the 2010-2011 State Firemen's and Fire Marshal Association of Texas poster contest winners. From the 400 contestants in the Brownsville area, 18 qualified to compete in regionals. From over 50 regional contestants, 6 BISD young artists advanced to state. From the 6 BISD state qualifiers who placed at the RGV Firemen's and Fire Marshals Association of Texas poster contest in 2010-2011, 3 BISD young artists won state trophies. It is my pleasure to present in the intermediate division the 3 and 4 first place Rick Garcia, 4th grader from Paderes Elementary School. Art teacher, Mr. Tony Munoz, and Principal Julie Trevino. In the junior high division, grades 5 and 6, 3rd place state trophy winner from Lucio Middle School, Karen Luvano. And art teacher, Ms. Rosalinda Gaona, and assistant principal, Mr. Villarreal. Also in the junior high division, grades 7th and 8th, 3rd place state trophy winner from Lucio Middle School, Luis Garcia, 8th grader, art teacher, Ms. Erika Trevino, and assistant principal, Mr. Villarreal. We would like to thank all the board members and administrators for your continued support of the BISD Fine Arts program. It is because of the support that our students have the opportunity to excel at the district, region, and state and national levels.
Congratulations. Good job. Thank you, sir. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Good job.
That's good.
Good job. Congratulations. Congratulations. So pretty. Very nice. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations, buddy.
Congratulations, thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
You're a parent, right?
Congratulations.
Congratulations, sir.
Congratulations.
Did you all see the...
Awesome. Ahí va para allá.
Congratulations, sir.
Ahí viene para acá.
Congratulations.
Ahí va, despacito, pero va.
Congratulations, sir. Great job.
Awesome. Wow.
That's great.
That's nice.
He's talented. A sound we can live with. One more. One more.
Thank you.
We now go to item number 5, presentation of Este es mi Mexico, Mexican Consulate Art Contest. Dr. Montoya.
Madam President, members of the board, again, Este es mi Mexico, Regalos de Mexico, was a contest where students from 70 countries sent their materials and drawings to the Mexican consulate in Brownsville, and we do have a student that was one of the winners, Dr. Rendon.
Yes, I will ask Mr. Estrada to do the presentation.
Good evening, Dr. Montoya, Ms. Presas Garcia, and BISD board members. We also have a very special young artist worthy of our recognition in the international arena and art contest Este es mi México, Regalos de México al Mundo. It's a children's art contest sponsored by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In 2010, children from over 10 countries entered more than 5,694 artworks. The jurors, Licenciado Lorena Espindola, Licenciada Edna Mata, and Maestro Cesar Santos Badillo, selected 15 artworks as the winners from countries such as Uruguay, New Zealand, Turkey, Poland, Japan, Spain, Costa Rica, Malaysia, Russia, and several major U.S. cities, including Brownsville. The jurors selected 65 artworks that will travel the world. The Brownsville Children's Museum is hosting this exhibit during the months of October and November. On September 30th, the Children's Museum inaugurated the exhibit and announced the Brownsville participants and winner. The night belonged to first place winner, a BISD first grade student at Burns Elementary. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to introduce our young artist, Daniel Martinez. Daniel. His art teacher is Ms. Anisa Saldivar and Principal Mario Fajardo. Once again, we thank you for the support of all the administrators and board members, for your continued support of the Brownsville Independent School District Fine Arts Program.
Agent, sir?
Thank you very much.
I'll be glad to be your agent.
He has one. Our teacher. Wait, no te acomodes. He has one.
Hey, she knows time when she sees it. Did he get a little thing?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He has one.
Are his parents here?
He had the buttons.
Are his parents here? His mother's probably taking the picture.
Are his parents here? Come up for a picture.
Come for a picture with him?
Yes.
Yes, if he has his family, can come up for the picture with him. Come on up.
How awesome. So cute.
He's gorgeous.
Congratulations, Mommy.
Congratulations, guys. One more.
No, I just want one with just him without us. Okay.
Button you gotta press.
There's a button, yeah. 2, 3.
Just you, sweetie.
Oh, with us? Yeah.
How sweet.
Oh, so special. But we need a big smile. There you go. Yay.
Very proud little young man.
Be lucky you all got 3 pictures.
We now go to item number 6, presentation of public hearing school first financial integrity rating system of Texas booklet. Dr. Montoya.
Madam President, members of the board, the first financial integrity rating system is a requirement that the state has of all school districts in Texas to give the status financially of their district. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Mr. Garcia.
Thank you, Dr. Montoya. Madam President, part of the requirement that we have to comply with is for us to, on an annual basis, have a public hearing to present the annual financial accountability management report. and which I have sent the board members a copy of it. I've also have some black and white copies available for the public if they want to go ahead and pick one up, or if anybody needs a copy, they can just email me and we'll provide you with a copy. So it says here, the Brownsville Independent School District has received a rating of the superior achievement for the 9th time under the Texas School Finance Accounting Rating System for fiscal year 2009-2010. That's important. The information documented here is for the school year 2009-2010. The Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas is the financial accountability system for Texas school districts and developed by the Texas Education Agency in response to Senate Bill 875 of the 76th Texas Legislature in 1999 and Senate Bill 218 of the 77th Legislature in 2001. The primary goal of School First is to achieve quality performance in the management of school districts' financial resources. Again, the district is rated in 22 different criteria. At this time, I would like to just go over a couple of the criteria that I think are important, and then I'll open it up for questions and any comments. First of all, the district score was 73. That's a 73 out of 80, giving us a 91% achievement. If you go over, if you're following along in your booklets, indicator number 16, which is page 7 of 16, the question is, was the administrative cost ratio less than the threshold ratio? I think this is one of the areas that the public is interested, and a lot of people are interested. We asked, what is the percentage of administrative cost? TEA's acceptable administrative cost ratio for a school district of this size is 11.05%. The school district has an administrative cost ratio of 6.87%, so we're well under the administrative cost. The other one that I would like to point out is number 18, was the ratio of students to total staff within range shown below according to district size. And in that one, if you notice, we received 3 points out of the 5 points available. This indicator measures the pupil-staff ratio to ensure that it is within TA recommended ranges for district of the local district student population. The Brownsville ratio of students per total staff was 6.5069, or in other words, 6.5 students for every staff that we employ. We did not receive the 5 points because the range is, the low end is 7.0, the high end is 14. So we were under the recommended ratios in order to get the full 5 points. Moving on, if you go on to indicator number 22, if you notice indicator number 22, the district received 0 points of the available 5. This was not just BISD, this was the majority of school districts throughout the state of Texas. What indicator number 22 was measuring is this indicator verifies that the district is investing its money and getting a good return on its investments. In this case, the reason that we did not receive any of the points is because of the low interest rates that are being paid out there on investments. So very few school districts throughout the state were able to receive any points in this actual criteria. After that, if you go, the next are disclosures 1 through 5. It's just other information that is requested. Under disclosure 1, you will find the interim superintendent's contract. Under disclosures 2, you will find superintendent and board members' reimbursements. Under disclosure number 3, you will find any outside compensation and/or fees received by the superintendent for professional consulting and/or other personal services. And then you go to disclosure number 4, which is gifts received from executive officer and board members. And disclosure number 5, business transactions between school districts and board members. And I'm happy to report that all of our current board members did not receive any monies under this disclosures here. The final disclosure is number 6, and it just goes into asking some financial questions, such as how much were payroll costs or contracted costs. In other words, they're breaking it up by 6100s, by object code 6100, 62, 63, and so on down the line to 66. So that concludes my presentation of this report. I will open it up for questions, and then after that, I would just like to thank our finance department for putting a lot of effort in getting these ratings and working hard for the school district.
Any questions from the board? We now go to item number 7, notification of allowance contingency fund change orders. Brownsville Academic Center. Contingency allowance fund change order number 3, Porter High School Instructional Facility Utility Allowance Fund change order number 2. Dr. Montoya.
Madam President, members of the board, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Haynes for explanation on this area.
Thank you, Madam Board Member or President, members of the board, Dr. Montoya. Basically, the change order for the Brownsville Academic Center, it's a contingency allowance fund, is being increased or credited by $17,000 due to what we call valued engineering on special systems, which includes fire alarm, security alarm, and also closed circuit TV. The contractor, Descon, submitted a valued engineering proposal to ROFA, architect firm, which then had Trinity Engineering, who works with ROFA architect firm. They tested the proposal and found the proposal to be comparable to the specs. This information was submitted to the school district attorney, who gave administration the go-ahead to accept the valued engineering proposal savings of $17,000.
Saved.
Yes, ma'am, we did.
Good job.
Hopefully we can
Argue
continue.
with that.
Ms. Garcia?
Go ahead, Ms. Longoria.
Mr. Haynes, I know that this change order is just to notify us, of the changes that are occurring. But I noticed a change order here on page 58. Did the original contract amount change, or why are we signing this other change order number 3? It's on page 68 on my agenda.
Page 60?
68. No, I'm sorry, 58.
58.
Okay. At this time, if the board doesn't mind if I can call Mr. Garza?
Sure, go ahead.
Go ahead and answer this question. Thank you.
Ms. Presas Garcia, board members, Dr. Montoya. Ms. Longoria, the amount of the contract does not change. So that's why we're just presenting this to the board. The person that will sign this will be Dr. Montoya, because it's just a change to the contingency fund.
Okay, but what was the original contract? Was it $8 million?
The original contract is $8,430,000, and as you'll see, that does not change.
Okay, so why does Dr. Montoya have to sign on this change order if the changes was between the contractor?
Well, the school board, not the school board, the district has to approve the change order. In this case, administration can sign it because the contingency fund is part of the contract, which has already been approved by the school board.
Okay, so we're going to be credited $17,000?
Yes, ma'am. On page 59, it shows that the contingency fund allowance initially was $300,000. Change orders number 1 and number 2 were deducted from the from the contingency allowance, and then number 3 is being credited. So the total fund, as it stands now, will be $298,638.
Okay. Another thing I would like to know, since the contractors did these changes, like they change from one company to another company, is the district going to be held accountable or at risk for any liabilities should something go wrong? Mr. Garza.
Madam,
go ahead.
Go Go ahead.
Madam
Mr. Montoya.
President, and also Dr. Montoya, members of the board. At this time, I would like to go ahead, if you allow me to go ahead and send the questions over to our attorney.
Whenever you have a change that's going to deviate from the specs, what you look for, first of all, is your engineer architect to agree that it's a permissible change, that it falls within the type of product or service that you're trying to obtain. That's central, and that's what occurred here. If that happens, then that's what gives the district protection that it's making the right decision at the time. As with anything else, later there can be a problem with materials or the way it's installed, and the district still retains its full right, to proceed against that. But in terms of what's occurring now, this is a legal change process.
Okay, I'm a little confused. Is the district making this request, this change order, or the contractor or the architect?
It usually happens when the contractor finds that either there's a better product or a cheaper product providing the same value, usually with one of his subs. But if he needs to come back, though, if it's different than what was in the specs, and then ask the district, and the district in turn goes to its engineer architect to determine, is this an acceptable substitute? And if that happens, that's what the district is relying on, is that expertise of your independent architect contract to do this. And the last part I was saying is the district protected? Well, in any construction, things can go wrong down the line, but the district retains its full ability to move forward, and at this time it's taken the steps to assure that this is an acceptable product.
Okay, my only concern is that they had already selected another company, and they decided to go with this other company. That's why I want to make sure the district is not going to be responsible should something go wrong.
No, I think that my response to that is still the same. I think you're relying on your experts for what occurred. I think in part what happens here is there's a determination that this will meet the need for which the specs was sent. In terms of any claim from either any of the contractors or any of the other primes, I think the district is protected because it followed the process throughout.
Okay, just make sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Doc.
Thank you, Madam President. Most of the change orders that we receive are because they cost us more money. Here's one in which we're saving money. Hopefully we'll see more of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was in the... So sorry. We now go to item number 8, status of Special Services Department. Dr. Montoya.
Madam President, members of the board, several of you requested a status update of the Special Services Department and what has been occurring and some of the positive areas and also some of the challenges. So at this point, we'll turn it over to Ms. Sharon Moore to go ahead and do the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Montoya. Good evening, Board President, Ms. Prestes Garcia, Dr. Montoya, and members of the board. Both the state of Texas and the federal government closely monitor the progress of special education students. The state system is called the Performance-Based Monitoring Analysis System, commonly known as PBMAS. The federal system is the State Performance Plan, known as SPP, and it evaluates the state's efforts to implement the requirements of IDEA, or the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. The two systems are very similar in that they target common areas such as the dropout rate, graduation rate, participation or proficiency in state assessments, and least restrictive environment, as both systems want, to the maximum extent possible, for students with disabilities to be educated with students who are non-disabled. Tonight I'd like to share with you some highlights from both of these reports. The PBMAS system for special education has 18 indicators, but several of these indicators have multiple parts. In all, there are 26 areas which are rated. Districts receive a rating of 0, 1, 2, or 3 in each indicator area. A district's ratings are determined by how far the district is from the state expectations. The rating scale is reflected on the slide for your review, and you can see that, if we're at the state expectation or standard, it's a 0, and the further away you get, the higher your rating. So if you have 1s, you're pretty close, and 2 a little bit farther, but 3 means that you're quite a distance away. Now, understandably, we would want to have 0 ratings in all indicators, and we are very, very close to that expectation. In the 2010 PBMOS report, we had 6 areas with a rating of 1 and 5 areas with a rating of 2, no ratings of 3. But the good news is that in the 2011 PBMOS, you'll note that we have only 4 ratings of 1 and just 2 ratings of 2. And this is a significant improvement. And we are very, very proud of these results. Now, I wanted to go over all the indicators, but that would have had us here until tomorrow morning. So I've had to highlight, and I picked 4 indicators to review with you. Initially, I wanted to pick all indicators that we had gotten a 0 in, but I thought, well, that's not fair. So I've picked 2 indicators that we have a 0, which is great, 1 indicator where we have a rating of 1, and then the final indicator where we have a rating of 2. So the first indicator, indicator 2, special education, year after exit, tax passing rate. And this is excellent. These are the scores for students who have been receiving special education services the prior school year, but they were dismissed from special ed by the ARD committee. As you can see, students did very well in all areas, exceeding the state expectation by considerable margins. Thus, the rating of 0 in every one of these areas. These positive scores are related to both the reliability of testing results and the accurate ARD committee decisions. So this is a combination of everybody's good work that we see such excellent ratings in this area. Now, indicator 10 is another one to celebrate. Indicator 10 is the special education RHSP DAP diploma rate. Now, the district is doing an excellent job in this indicator. 23.5% of special education students are either graduating with a recommended high school diploma or a Distinguished Achievement Program diploma, and the state's expectation is only 16.5. So we blew out of the water on this one. Now, this is an important one. Why? Because this can be attributed to the good, positive work of our ARD committees, which are made, and the decisions that are made at these meetings with the high school counselors. But ultimately, the most important thing about this indicator to me is that it reflects the common belief that BISD has in that we have high expectations for all of our students, not just the regular ed students, for all of our students. That's one to celebrate for sure. Now, indicator 12 is one where we received a rating of 1. And it's because that our percentage of identified special education students exceeds the state expectation. The state's expectation is that 8.5% of our population would have a special education label, where in our district it's 10.5. However, I am confident that this year, through the work of the RTI committees, that we're going to be able to reduce that and score within the appropriate range to get a rating of 0 for next year. For 2011, there were 5,250 special education students in our district identified through PEAMS, and our district enrollment at that point in time was very close to 50,000. The last indicator, 17, is one we struggle with, and we have struggled with this indicator for the last 3 years, and it has to do with special ed discretionary placements to ISS. This has to do with the number of students who are placed in ISS as a discipline alternative at the campuses. This is not something really special ed has a lot of control over, because this is something that's happening at the regular ed campus. For the last 3 years, BISD has received a 2 in this indicator. So it's one that we are definitely concentrating on for this school year, because it's one that we can fix. It's one we can fix. This indicator tells us that there are a disproportionate number of special ed students being placed in in-school suspension settings as a discipline consequence as compared to regular ed students. Now, so to address this concern, Special Services will continue to provide training to campus administrators and special ed teachers on the development of other discipline alternatives that can be documented in the BIP, or the Behavioral Intervention Plan. Improving this indicator is definitely a campus challenge, but Special Services is going to be there to assist them. We need to find other ways to discipline special education students to allow them to remain in regular education classroom settings rather than being removed to ISS. Success on the upcoming STAR test is going to require students to receive instruction as much as feasibly possible in the regular education setting. So these are the 4 indicators that we're highlighting on this particular PB-MOS report, the most recent one. Now I'd like to highlight just one indicator on the State Performance Plan. And as I indicated earlier, the State Performance Plan is what we're evaluated on as how well we're implementing IDEA. It has 14 indicators, and many of these indicators also have multiple parts, but I am especially proud of indicator 12, and that's the one I'm going to share with you today. When I first read indicator 12, I didn't quite get it. I had to kind of talk to a lot of people to help them explain it to me, but basically what it's telling us is this, that children with disabilities that are under the age of 3 years old are provided services such as physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy from the Early Childhood Intervention Program through Region 1. BISD doesn't directly service these students. These are the babies that are born with disabilities. Region 1 coordinates all these services for these students, but 90 days before this child turns 3 years old, Region 1 notifies us as a district, and we are required to complete the needed assessments for these students and have an IEP implemented by the child's 3rd birthday. So this happens very, very quickly. There's not a big scan right before the 90 days. We get this information. We usually have between 45 and 60 cases like this every year. The idea is, of course, to have a seamless transition from the early childhood program that Region 1 provides to the BISD program, which we are responsible for. So the good news is that in 2010-2011, the state expectation was 92%, and you can see from the chart that we have a 97% success rate. So probably somewhere along the line there was one student who didn't make that timeline, but this is something to be congratulated for our staff and for the work that we do with Region 1. Now, in order to continue improving on both the PB-MOS and the State Performance Plan for the upcoming school year, we are concentrating on providing extensive staff development. Our plans are to provide extensive training for teachers to ensure that special ed programs are implementing all the required critical elements. For a Structured for Life program, for a BI program, for a resource room program, there are critical elements that need to be contained in each one of these programs. So we are striving to make sure that each of the teachers in these different areas have a full understanding of what their program needs to contain. We need to constantly provide consistent monitoring of ARD paperwork by both campus administrators and special ed staff to reduce the possibility of due process hearing. This is where we find ourselves in problems sometimes. And in looking at the due process cases that I've been involved in my time at Special Services, they all centered around inappropriate or incomplete paperwork or in not meeting appropriate timelines. So this is, again, something we can fix if we really concentrate our efforts on it. We need to continue to support the campus to be sure that testing is taking place within the required timeline. And this last one is the most important one to me. We need to provide training to campus administrators on procedural safeguards to ensure that each campus administrator possesses a thorough understanding of the ARD process, both the do's and the don'ts. And I'm confident that once we have that training in place and that we have that feeling that our administrators are on top of every single detail, that not only the number of due processes will certainly diminish, but also our students will be appropriately placed in the right educational setting. It's going to be an exciting year. I'm certainly up to the challenge. I'll be glad to entertain any questions.
Go ahead, Ms. Peña.
I just want to make a statement. I appreciate that you work hard because I know how important it is to have the students in class instead of in the ISS. I'll tell you a story. There was a student who traded the in-school suspension for a minor infraction for 3 weeks of after-school detention. So he went from 1 week of ISS to 3 weeks of after-school because he said he needed that instruction because he was dyslexic. And then when he gets to after-school suspension, he finds out he could have traded, 1 week for 1 week, but he didn't know any better. And when he made the deal, they took it. So I really, he learned the hard way. So I really ask that you find a way to please keep these students in the classroom and maybe go to after-school suspension as opposed to ISS because they lose so much instruction. And when you are in special ed or 504, it means a lot to have that instruction daily. So thank you for working on that.
I couldn't agree more.
If I can make a comment. I think that also teachers and parents need to be aware of that. We know, and I've gotten calls, and I'm sure that some of y'all have, where content mastery and resource rooms are no longer, or they're fizzling down, right, because we're downsizing. And the reason is because of the STAR test, and they need to understand that the content area teachers, although they're great, and the resource teachers are great, there's nothing like having that direct instruction from the teachers. So we need to understand and make the public understand that it's not that we're doing away with it because we want to and we don't care about the kids. On the contrary, we care a lot about the kids to make sure and ensure. So with inclusion, there'll be more of the inclusion than there will be the content and resource mastery, correct?
I agree with you. The training that's being done for the teachers, of course, we are targeting the regular ed teachers. Now, special ed teachers are always invited.
Right.
But when you're in the content mastery, you may have students that need help in math and science and social studies, and it's hard to be an expert in all areas. So as much as possible, yes, I couldn't agree more. The students need to be in the regular classroom with special ed support.
Garcia.
Go ahead, Ms. Longo.
Mrs. Moore, do you have students on OSS? This is out of school suspension, right?
Out of school suspension, yes. ISS is in school suspension, and OSS is out of school suspension. Okay. And we received a rating of a 1, I believe, in that particular area, out of school suspension.
Have a number, more or less, how many students do you have on out of school suspension?
I would have to check with Ms. Zamora. I really don't know the number off the top of my head, but I'll find out for you.
And if you could also target those students as well.
Right.
Because I've run across some students that have been out and they say, well, I'm out until January. So I said, well, how could that be? So
it's certainly something that we're concerned about. Unfortunately, the special ed folks don't have too much power when it comes to the campus administrator's decision on how he or she is going to discipline a child. We do go through the manifestation determination meetings when the removal is more than 10 days, but we are talking much more frequently to the principals and working with the behavioral specialists to try as many options as possible to keep kids in school, because we know they're not going to learn anything on the streets. So we'll certainly get you that number of out-of-school suspension, though.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I have a question. So for this, we've already started working on the that percentage that we have that's high, that 61%, to bring it down lower.
Oh, yes.
Is that correct?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Okay. I was at a school about a week ago in Louisiana, and I got to tell you this: we don't have the issues that some districts do, and I think that if the district continues to work, this administration and the staff continues to work in the direction that we need to work, I think this district will be recognized once again, because we can really twig a lot of the things that we just need to understand. That we're held accountable. The state is holding everybody accountable. And sometimes when we feel that, well, this student needs to go to ISS because he's misbehaving, well, maybe that's not the solution, really. There's other factors that come into play, and we need to know to understand how to understand that one child. At the school that I was in, there was a 5th grader where the little girl loved her 4th grade teacher and loved her 3rd grade teacher. So every day that little girl had to go visit her principal and ask for permission just to go and just say hello, to both teachers. But they were so understanding because the lifespan of that child was only 8 months left. So You know, they worked with her. They knew that if she was to go to the principal and say, "Can I go see my fourth grade teacher? I just want to say hello." And they would let her go, and then the teacher would bring her back, and then she would be okay. So, you know, that little girl was not punished. That little girl was not told that she was a bad child or a bad student. It was just that she needed that. And she was, you know, unfortunately she's got an illness that she's got very little time left, and they understood her, you know, but everybody's got different issues, and I think we just need to try to work a little bit more with some of our students and just detect what the problem is.
Well, we're going to work too very closely to develop better behavioral management plans, and of course the RTI process is going to help us too. So, you know, working together, I'm confident that we can improve on this rating for next year as well.
Thank you, Dr. Montoya.
Thank you so much for your hard work.
We now go to high school magnet and CTE career pathway and updates. Dr. Montoya.
Madam President, members of the board, to try to get an understanding of the 8th graders as to what they might be interested in the magnet area, we did a survey which gave us some excellent data. And at this point, I believe, Ms. Pena, you will share that part? Or is it Ms. Monfiles? Ms. Monfiles, I'm sorry.
Madam President, Dr. Montoya, members of the board. Yes, indeed. We actually had a 98% response rate from our 8th graders on the CTE career pathway and magnet survey results. And I do wish to thank the Instructional Technology Department because they were really helpful with the turnaround on this. As you can see on your document pages 74 and 75, 50% of the 8th graders who responded to the survey listed law and the related fields as one of their top 2 choices for a career pathway. And 24% of the students who responded listed the health sciences or the medical professions. And you can see from the survey that after that, the numbers went down significantly. So we're going to use these results. Every year, our 7th graders go through a Cooter software program on career investigations. We always look at those results. And we're also going to use the information that Jobs for the Future program audit gives us so that we can restructure our pathways programs and eliminate those where there's not too much interest or maybe not much of a job market, and then kind of improve, strengthen those that the results need restructuring and strengthening. And the survey also asked the students what magnet program they would like to attend if given a choice, and really and truly the responses were almost the same. The top 2 contenders again were science, technology, architecture, and medical professions. That time that one came out in first place, and then law and the related fields was in second place. So those are the 2 top areas for our 8th graders right now, not only in career pathways but also in magnet programs. 95% of the career technology students taking dual enrollment courses in their pathways are enrolled in a health-related pathway also. And I do have that report on the dual and articulated enrollment that the board had asked for at the last meeting, and I'll be putting that in the Friday letter. But I think this shows that it significantly points to the need for our STAMP program. And so now I'll turn the mic over to Ms. Pena so that she can update us on that.
Thank you, Ms. Jo. Dr. Montoya, Madam President, members of the board. We thought we would take advantage of giving you an update on our College Connection. Our STAMP program at the Veterans High School, our college preparatory at Veterans Memorial, will begin in August of 2012, which is right around the corner. We're working very diligently. We're working very diligently in making sure that everything is on target. So in preparation for the August 2012, we're saying college ready, college connected, and college completed, because everything that we're doing, if it's not college connected or if we're not college ready, then why do it? So, a bold new step. The goals for our STAMP college preparatory is to improve mathematics and science achievement among all Brownsville students. to increase the number of students who study and enter science, technology, engineering, architecture, design, and medical profession careers, which is under STEM. We're going to provide students with the ability to earn career-focused college credits while attending high school, and increase the number of students who enter a post-secondary institution. We want to bridge the courses of study so that our students can be facilitated into an entry in any prestigious college. Some of our ongoing STAMP activities are as such. We're making middle school presentations. As a matter of fact, we begin on Thursday, the area superintendents and I, and some of our students from our TM program at Hannah will be joining us, and we'll be going to visit all of our middle schools where we're going to talk to the students about our STAMP program. Establishing an application process. Mrs. Mary Jo Monfiles, the area superintendents, all of us at Cabinet have been sitting down, working with principal, and we've worked and called some principals in so that we can develop a very comprehensive application process. And we've learned a lot from our trip to Dallas to our Yvonne Ewell Center. We took some ideas from their application process. We're enrolling and recruiting students. As we're working with the middle schools, we're also looking at November the 10th as our Kate Magnet Night, and we will have a booth there for our STAMP program, and we will be issuing applications and enrolling students. We're building partnerships. Oh boy, we've had so much success and so much an outpour of support from our community, doctors and the community business people that want to be part of our endeavor. We've gone to see TSC, UTB, and UT in Brownsville. We went to the UT Pan American in Edinburgh. We've gone to many colleges and universities in the surrounding areas that want to be part of our endeavor. I will tell you that everybody wants to be part of this endeavor. I'm telling you that the STAMP initiative is something that all of the medical professions community out in the private sector want to be part of. In fact, they've offered us seminars. They've offered us weekend trading with our students. They've asked if our students could go to their hospitals and their clinics so that they can do rotations as well. We're looking very closely with the help of Jimmy Haynes and a lot of people in our district. We're making decisions on zoning. We feel that it's important that we look at the enrollment so that there's equitable numbers, and we're looking to see what the impact will be throughout the whole school district and towards all the campuses. Spreading the word via community coffees and other outreach efforts, distributing literature. We're looking at civic organizations. Last night we gave a presentation to the District Improvement Council, and we're holding parental meetings. As you well know, we have a coffee around the corner as well. Preparing curriculum, including advanced placement and dual enrollment. We're looking at what would it take to have all of our teachers that are AP ready and that are trained and that could do dual classes. You know that we would need staff that has a master's degree. So we're making sure that we have the right profile that we would need to have at our STAMP program. And we're creating a budget. That's not easy. Mr. Ismael Garcia is a magic worker, but we're trying to help him all we can. We're taking inventory of all the supplies and materials that we already have that we can take to our STAMP campus, and we're seeing what works and what doesn't work, so we're building on that. The BISD Career and Technology Education Magnet Night will be held on Thursday, November the 10th. That's a few days from now, from 6 to 8, and we're going to invite the public and our students to come by, and like I said, we have an application readily available for all of them. Based on community feedback, adjustments will be made to allow zone middle school students to attend Veterans Memorial High School, along with participants in the Stamp College Prep program. We feel that we can work both high schools into one, a school within a school, and that our Stamp College Preparatory program will stand the test of time, that we have the rigor that is needed for this program, as well as hold our own for our Veterans High School. Our community partnerships, like I said, we've seen the University of Texas at Brownsville, Pan American, our Texas Health Center, Health Science Center. We haven't seen all but two, but I think we're going to travel next weekend with Dr. Hernandez, Mary Jo Monfiles, and myself. We're going to none other than Texas A&M University. We're all going to have to wear maroon. But every other, but Baylor, we have already had communications with. Everybody has given us their verbal commitment. We will be coming to you as a board with written MOUs so that we have distinctly know what the responsibility of the school district is, as well as the university, so that we can have that bridge and that pipeline directly to the university for our students. All steams ahead. Thank you.
Go ahead, Dr. Saavedra.
I think this is this is great. I think the community is accepting this with a lot of vision and a lot of participation. One thing I do want to now add another curve. You know, I'm always looking at how we can throw curves in. But as we visited the different schools and districts, because I am part of the urban school districts, the Council for Urban School Districts, we did visit different schools in different areas. And in Louisiana, we did see where they are focusing a lot of the schools in middle school as well, and starting the career pathways right as soon as before they finish elementary, because you know that middle school is a hard area, and that's why we have you know, a lot of the teachers that concentrate on building character and working with character in the middle school, because from then on we know that if the seed is planted, then we know that then the road is ahead for the kids to continue. So that's something that this is great and it's fantastic, but in the future and for the future, Dr. Montoya, that we concentrate especially on those students. I'm looking at the survey here, and I was really disappointed because there's one campus here that if anybody needs this and should have, I don't know what the problem is, but in the back we had no one participating, or what was that?
If I may, Dr. Montoya, yes, probably most of the students at back, you had to hit the button that said, what middle school are you in?
Okay,
so most of the students at back probably hit the button.
Their
yes,
home campus.
Their home campus.
Okay,
yes,
all right. Well, that makes me feel better. But nonetheless,
we were worried.
Because we are looking at these students, we don't want them to drop out, and we want to encourage them. So if we can find a pathway for them early enough and identify these kids. There won't be that many, because the majority of the students will, with this initiative, will look forward to, I can hardly wait till I go to high school to be able to get that. But there's still those reluctant learners that we need to reach and identify quickly. So maybe in working with, BAC or the BLA, campuses, to make sure how we can dangle this bait for them so that they can quickly catch up with their credits, and then by the time it would help our graduation rate and our completion rate, of course, and then of course our students will be more successful because now they will have a true pathway of interest, not just getting their diploma, but their dual enrollment, their college credits. Once they start seeing that they've got college credits, I can guarantee you students will get motivated. And so we need to get them into those dual enrollment classes as soon as possible. So thank you all. I'm excited because this is, an area that is, of course, opening doors to all the students here in Brownsville. We also need to make sure we target the private schools, because a lot of those students will not continue into the private sector of continuing their high school. Very few because of the cost, but they're going up the valley. So we need to make sure that we can entice them and get them to stay here. So good job. Anything that I can do, this is my area, so please knock on my door. Call me. I'll be glad to participate in any way. But I think this is exciting, very exciting.
Thank you,
Good
Dr.
job.
Saavedra.
Go ahead, Ms. Peña.
And I want to thank you when I heard that you are going to look at considering and take into consideration the zoning for the school. That will just embrace that community and they will jump on board and make it shine. So for that, I thank you, because some people did move out to that area, have fallen in love with that area, have roots there, want to build tradition, and to have them become part of this school will just make it that much better. So I thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. I really do. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Montoya, and I want to share this story with you because I got elected in 2008. In 2009, I received a call from a father. This man asked me to please help him because his daughter was from Stillman and she hadn't made it to the program. Little did I know that this program, the medical program at Hannah, had only availability certain seats or certain slots. As he called me, I told him that I was not familiar with how the program worked, but I'd be happy to share it with administration and for administration to look into it and to call him back. As I approached administration, I asked him that why were we depriving students from this program? He said, there's no room. I said, well, can we be creative enough to be able to think out of the box and perhaps in the near future we can build this program bigger and stronger for the kids not to be deprived that are wanting to go into the health and science and medical profession. As we look here, we have 794 students wanting to go into the health and science medical profession, which is a very big number. As I talked to administration, he said, well, there was nothing we could do. So I said, well, okay, well, maybe possibly in the future, could you please keep it in your mind? Well, I wanted to know a little bit more about this program, so I talked to Ms. Cini and I spoke to Ms. Alarcon and I asked why was it that students were being deprived and staying out of this program, and I asked how many students throughout the years that they had knowledge had been left out of this program. Well, in 2009, when I approached everybody, because I wanted to become familiar as to why we were not getting the numbers there, and they said, well, as of right now, we have at least 2,000 students plus that have been without this program because we have no room for them. So, you know, I'm very proud because it's something that we should not leave anybody behind. We shouldn't leave students out of a program when they are striving to go into a program or they're hungry to go into a program that they are wanting to make it their profession or to have a better future. I called Mr. Torre and because that was the gentleman, and I told him, you know what, I'm sorry, you know, administration should be calling you back. I can't do anything. That's not my doing. All I can do, and he says, no. I know that someday this district will look ahead and not leave any more children out of this program. You know, when he told me he had 6 months of life to live or less because he had cancer, you know, there was nothing I can do, you know, but yet he died knowing that his daughter was one of the ones that stayed on a waiting list because this district had not, at that point, been creative enough or had thought ahead, knowingly that throughout the years, the numbers had been there. So I commend this administration and you, Dr. Montoya, and your staff for working so hard at it and being creative enough to be able to build this program, because this is what we're about. This is what we, the board, should be supportive with programs that are good for our students and for the future. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know that this young girl is now a junior. She's not in the medical profession because she was one of the 300 that year that stayed on a waiting list. And there was only 120 students that were allowed that school year. So I thank you, honestly, and I think everything is being taken into consideration, and you're still twigging some things. Am I correct? So with all that said, thank you so very much. Thank you. We now go to standing board agenda items, board calendars. Dr. Montoya.
Madam President, members of the board, just a few quick reminders. Red Ribbon Week, October 22nd to the 30th. Halloween on the 31st. And at the end of the week, in November 4th, there will be, no, that's November 2nd, excuse me. There'll be the Kids Voting Day at the end of the week. And at the end of October, we have the PEAM Snapshot Date, which really is one of our major measures that we use and the state uses for funding purposes. We also commend several of our bands, Hannah, Lopez, Pace, Rivera, and veterans. They made it past the region, and they're going to go to the area marching contest. So that's a great honor for that group. And that is it.
If I may,
job.
Ms. Presa.
Go ahead, Ms. Peña.
The coffee that's coming up, what date is that?
This Thursday.
Okay, because I didn't see it on the calendar,
it's
so
Thursday,
I just wanted to make sure
at
that
9:30.
the community knew.
Yes.
And this will be for the veterans
And Pace.
And Pace High School at veterans at what time?
Auditorium, 9:30.
9:30. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We now go to the public audience. If you wish to address the Board of Trustees during public audience portion of today's meeting, please print your name on the form in the back of the building. According to BISD policy BED local, only those persons on the list who request to speak shall be heard. The speaker shall limit remarks to 5 minutes. The board shall allot no more than 30 minutes for the public audience portion of the meeting. Complaints and concerns for which other resolution channels are provided shall be directed through those channels. The complaint include complaints on the following subjects: employee complaints, termination of employment, student complaints, removal to alternative education programs, and expulsions. If the board president determines that a person has not attempted to resolve a matter administratively, the person shall be directed to the appropriate policy for attempted resolution before bringing this matter to the board. Complaints against specific employees or officers of BISD shall be heard in closed meeting as authorized by the Texas Government Code Title 5, Section 551.074. And if your topic concerns complaints against specific employees or officers, please note this on the sign-up sheet. You must make your points on issues in a constructive and courteous fashion pursuant to Robert's Rule of Order. We now have first speaker, Albert L. Perez, Jr., Agent of Record.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Montoya, administrators and staff members. While I've had the opportunity to meet a few of you in the past, some of y'all know me, the majority of y'all do not, so I must introduce myself. My name's Albert Pettis. My wife and I, my wife's Linda Brisky Pettis, we own the Brisky and Pettis Insurance Agency here in town. We own and operate a full-functioning, fully staffed insurance agency. Now, I appreciate this opportunity to address my concern to this Board of Trustees. While I do know that y'all are selecting the idea of not selecting an agent of record, y'all are thinking about hiring in-house. Now, I do understand your position. I really do. I understand the logic. But that doesn't mean that I necessarily agree with the decision that y'all are doing. Now, I think it would be highly unethical for me right now this evening to address the bid that I submitted. So therefore, I will not discuss my bid. I just don't think it's ethical to do so. It's not fair when the other agents aren't here to discuss their bids. So I'm going to speak a little bit on the generic side. What an agency has to offer is a lot of depth, a tremendous amount of depth. Now, I'm not talking about small agents that is 1 or 2 man operation, maybe with 1 CSR to handle the daily administrations. I'm talking about the depth in a full service agency dealing with software, encrypted email, suspend systems, depth in licensing personnel to handle all of the daily functions of any account. And it brings to mind is, how is BISD going to match this depth by hiring one employee? Sure, I'm sure and confident that you can hire one qualified employee, but how are you going to handle the information that is given to this employee to handle your daily process? There's going to be information such as sensitive medical information. How is that employee going to transmit that information to Blue Cross Blue Shield for the handling? What is the suspense system? Suspense systems, computer systems, the technology is extremely expensive. And the question is, can you really duplicate this, what a full-service agency can do, if you try to do this in-house? I'm here this evening to ask you humbly to reconsider your decision and look in depth at the 8 bidders, all 8 bidders that submitted proposals to become your agent of record regarding your Blue Cross Blue Shield health insurance program. Out of that 8 bidders, I'm asking that you narrow it down to 2, 3, whatever you should think. Then call them in. Literally call us in, or whoever the finalists are, and ask us, what services are you literally pledging to provide for the fees that you're going to be paid? Once you have that information, then compare that to the benefits that you think that you can receive by employing your own employee. And that's what I'm asking for y'all to do. With that, in closing, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to come before you and then discuss this matter. And a good evening to you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Your comments are well taken. Our next speaker, Patrick Hammis, Policy and Extra Duty. You want extra duty, sir? Oh, I'm sorry, extra duty pay.
Good evening, Dr. Montoya, Acting President Escobedo, and Board President Garcia, members of the board, fellow employees, and Brownsville community. My name is Patrick Hammis. I'm here speaking on the behalf of the Association of Brownsville Educators. I've got a couple thank yous, a question, and maybe one minor concern. First of all, I want to again thank the board for the unanimous vote on restoring the paid holidays and vacation days to the classified employees. I hope that you're getting as many thank yous and appreciations as we are. They are just very, very grateful for your decision, as we are too. Would also like to thank administration, Ms. Pena, Special Ed Administration, first with Ms. Jimenez, then finish up with Mrs. Moore. Both of them assisted ably by Dr. Lee Garcia. At the budget meeting, the final budget meeting, we had expressed a concern over SHAR's billing. That seems to have been pretty well resolved. Forms have been sent out to the employees for corrected forms and ways to ease the paper load for them. And for that, we also thank administration and the Special Education Administration for working with us. Thank you very much. I do have a question. Through the budget meetings, I believe at the same meeting, all teacher unions, organizations, associations expressed a concern that the employee salary schedule was not going to be presented. Dr. Atkinson had asked for October. She met with us in August. She gave us a peek at it in August, but now we're at the last meeting in October, and it still has not been presented, so we're hoping that can be presented in the near future. Okay. My concern is I was at a meeting today. At this meeting, middle school core teachers, which are your English, math, reading, science, and history teachers, were directed to go and recruit minimum of 5, maximum of 10 students to participate in UIL. The same teachers were told that they would have to mentor these students and supervise them either before school, after school, or during their lunch, which usually would not be a problem, but UIL, unfortunately, because of the budget constraints, the extra duty pay for UIL was eliminated this year, and we fully understand that. We understand why. In looking at school policy, our school day as middle school teachers starts at 7:20 in the morning if we have duty, ends at 3 o'clock. We also understand, and we're in agreement with the reduction in extra duty pay of over 40% from $35 to $20 an hour, but that is not working for nothing. And that's what you're asking teachers to do. If you're asking them to work before school or after school without compensating them for UIL. So this, I'm sure, is just the fact that as a district, we want to offer as much as we can to all of our employees, to all of our students, and that we probably just got a little carried away here, and I'm sure that the administration will correct this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hammes. We now go to recommend approval of the following payments. Goggins Construction Company, Inc., $10,001, Edward Manzano Middle School, and Thomas Keller Elementary, to be paid from Capital Project Fund 631 and 632. Ms. Longoria, I believe you have a question. No, number 14, ma'am. Okay.
Move to approve.
Well, second. Do I have a second? Second by motion by Dr. Escobedo, second by Ms. Peña. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Item number 16, recommend approval to pay Reich Ogden Figueroa, Alex Architects, an additional $33,075 to compensate for additional design for Brownsville Academic Center 2, paid from qualified QSCB Fund 190, Local Maintenance Fund 199. Ms. Longoria?
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Montoya, Mr. Haynes, and Mr. Garza. I noticed that this RFQ was approved on November 22nd of 2010. And this was way before we voted on the QSBC bonds. So that's a little concern I have. And my other concern is that now we're having to pay an additional $33,000. Is this going to change the amount of the original contract?
Mr. Haynes, I think you had some information that you had researched on that.
Madam President, board members, and Dr. Montoya, basically, what the question as far as 2010 and the bond issue, I'll go ahead and let Mr. Garza address that. But the contract didn't change when the board approved. At one time, it was $7,800,000, and it went up to $8,430,000 because they had added a what we called a alternate package, and in that alternate package for the back, it addressed the following. It included 2 classrooms at the end of each wing at the back and a mini gym. It also included a canopy over the patio area and a canopy added over the outside basketball court. So when they added this alternate package, it came out to $630,000 more, which, like I said, increased the amount of the construction to $8,430,000. So with the $630,000 that was increased, the architect is needing to get paid 5.24% of that amount. If you look at page
224?
223, I think. If you look at page 223, Article 11, it says compensation rule. It says that the architect will be paid a fee not to exceed the amount of $409,500 because the contract was at $7,800,000. But if you add an alternate package, which they did, it also talks about if you add an alternate package that you would have to pay 5.25% also on that amount, which was $630,000. Okay, that's why they're getting paid the 5.25%.
Okay.
The other question I can address is as far as the bond and the difference of the dates.
Yeah, let me go back to this one. This agenda item that was approved back in September of 2010. The recommendation was to approve the RFQ 11032 to accept a negotiated fee with ROFA Architects, Inc. to provide architectural design services for the alternative school in the amount not to exceed 5% of $7.8 million or $409,500. Did they bring, or you might not know this, Mr. Haynes, but perhaps Mr. Garza, did they bring a revised agenda item to approve the difference because it went from 7.8 to 8.4 million?
Yes, ma'am. Board members and Dr. Montoya, if you mind, I could go ahead and have Mr. Garza address that. He does have other agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Haynes. Ms. Longoria, in September of 2010, we approved the fee for this architect based on the estimated cost of $7,800,000 for the Brownsville Academic Center. On December 7th of 2010, the board approved the actual construction fee for the construction of the Brownsville Academic Center at $8,430,000. So the difference, as Mr. Haynes was explaining, between the $8,430,000 that was the actual construction fee and the estimated fee of $7,800,000 is the $630,000 times the 5.25% fee, and that's the $33,000 that $33,075 that the architect is owed in additional fees. Initially, the architect, and you'll see there on page 224, he was requesting $54,495, which is the 5.25% of the alternates, which all the alternates add up to $1,038,000. But after negotiating with him, my feeling was that we should only be paying the total cost, not just looking at the alternates, because if we had taken the alternates out, the actual construction would have been less than the $7,800,000. He finally agreed to that negotiated fee, and that's the $33,075.
Okay, my next question, does this go over the 25% of the original contract price?
No, ma'am. We will do a change order, a change increase to the PO amount because it's less than 25%.
Okay, and who requested the redesign?
We presented, I forget exactly the date, but it's probably in October, on October meeting of 2010, after all the architects had been contracted back in September. They did a presentation to the board of what they were thinking of as far as the designs of the buildings were for each of the 4 qualified school construction. In this case, there was 4 alternates that were presented. One was adding 2 additional classrooms at each of the 4 wings because it looked like there was a need. The original buildings that we have now at that time were pretty full, and one of the things the principal was that we could add 2 additional classrooms. So that was alternate 1. Alternate 2 was a mini gym, which the original campus did not have. The alternate 3 is a canopy over an outside full basketball court. And, sorry, the alternate 3 is a canopy over the gathering area, which the original campus does not have. It's all open, so in inclement weather, it's a problem to have a gathering there. And then there's a covering over the basketball court. So those were bidded out as alternates. When the bids came in, we had a budget that would support all the alternates, so we went to the board, like I said, on the board meeting of December the 7th, 2010, and proposed that we go with all 4 alternates. At that time, soon after, that's when I started getting negotiations with the architect as to the fee.
Okay, and this agenda item is to request approval to pay the $33,000. And I don't see an invoice here, just your email and his email. So I don't see an official invoice or bill here for the $33,000.
If this is approved tonight, I'll go and submit for administration to approve an increase of $33,075 to the PO. And as soon as that happens, then I'll have the architect submit an invoice, and I'll send it into the next available board meeting for approval.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is, go ahead.
Just really quick, kind of to reiterate what I mentioned earlier, this is a typical item that comes to the board to request more funding. I wish we could see more of the items of what we saw earlier, in which it's if we're actually saving money through value engineering or whatever it takes. So, thank you.
You know, Dr. Montoya, I'm going to share this because, you know, that Veterans Memorial, that was the same thing. You know, you were not here, but I'm just telling you that we kept on getting change orders, and you know that I want somebody to explain to me here what BAC is for, because I work there and I know what that campus is for. So can somebody explain to us, is that for our students to go in there and feel comfortable and make it home, their main campus, or is it for them to go in and get out within 3 to 4 weeks, like come in here, let's do what we got to do, get them going back to their original campus? Because that was my understanding when they had it on Korea. It was a campus used just for students to be there, not permanent, not to make it a permanent place, but a campus to be there just for 2-3 weeks max and back to their schools. Now, are we going to create this campus as a permanent, where we're going to condone and accept, okay, let's just accept these students to stay there? Or is it going to continue to be a type of campus where you get them to get back on track, get them to accept this is not the type of school that you want to be in, because your school is the school where you belong? Please help me understand that.
No, Madam President, members of the board, that has always been the intent. It needs to, you need to understand, in a given time, there are several hundred kids there, so you may have a group that goes for a set amount of time and they go back to campus, but unfortunately there's another group that kind of fills the slots. But Ms. Pena, I think you had some information on that.
Before, if I may, Ms. Presas, before Ms. Pena's.
Administration, go ahead, and then you can
okay.
go. Let them go answer.
Madam President, members of the board, and Dr. Montoya, there's 2 ways that can land you back our Brownsville Academic Center. One is a discretionary reason, and one is a mandatory. Discretionary would be that twice you cursed at a student or at a teacher, you were disrespectful, you have so many infractions at the school that the administration feels that they need to send you for 30 days. That's the maximum that principals or administration can send you back. Now, if we catch you with something that is breaking the Texas Education Code as far as disciplinary referrals, drugs, weapons, fights, altercations, things of that nature, the maximum that they will send you there is anywhere from 45 to 90 days. Now, those incorrigible students that we have strong referrals from these students, they are another option is JJAP. And so those are the 2 ways that you can get to back.
But this campus was originally, it was supposed to be like a boot camp, am I correct? Because my point is, you know, we went ahead and we approved $7,800,000. Now we're up to $8,430,000. You know, I don't understand, you know.
We have 200 to 275 students. The maximum we've had, and I've overseen the BAC program for 2 years now. The maximum that I've seen is anywhere from 275. Very rarely do we even reach 300 students.
I remember, I recall working with Lieutenant Colonel Major Salinas. Yes, and it was a pretty tight ship, and it was you reform them, get them back, and that was it. It was not a permanent campus. Go ahead, Ms. Pena.
And I want to stress that I appreciate everything that the staff done. These are our most at-risk kids, our highest risk children. We want them to conform to society. We want them to be able to function. And I appreciate that we're going out there, building a facility that would teach them that we're here to take care of you and make sure you make it. There's people, I've worked with children like this. All my life, that's what my career has been into, to make sure they make it, because every child deserves an education and deserves to have the very best. And I thank you. And I know sometimes the mentality is get them in, get them out. But some children take longer because God created each and every mind totally separate in thinking and in acting. And I know that this is a high price to pay. I know people have different mentality of how to reach a child. But everyone has their own time, their own place, and their own need. And I'm glad that we at BISD take the time we need to reform them, to have them conform to society rule, to be able to adapt and be productive citizens, and to do it in a facility that's equal to the facility that we plan to send them to once they meet those guidelines is a very positive way of doing it, because the objective is to tell them we're here to save you, not to throw you away, throw you in a corner, or throw you in a dungeon. Like I know you've seen that story where they held some people in a dungeon. I want to tell these children, I'm going to give you the best. You have been acting up, but I'm going to hold you accountable and make sure you make it. Some turn around in a week. Some take the 90 days. And unfortunately, as human beings, that's our job for these children, to wait the time out, because they will survive and they will succeed if we don't give up on them. And I thank you for not giving up on them.
Madam President,
Go ahead, Doctor.
I move to approve item 16.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We now go to item number 17, recommend approval to pay Janak Associates Architect LLP $10,707.26, Daniel Breeden Elementary School, Gomez Mendez Science Inc., $2,883.30, Brownsville Early College High School, K Architects Inc., $5,796, Porter High School Instructional Facility, D. Wilson Construction Company, and $734,507 with 38 cents, Porter High School Instructional Facility, and Daniel Breeden Elementary School, PHI Services Agency, and Inc., $22,220, Daniel Breeden Elementary School, Spall Glass Contractors, Inc., $481,937, Hannah High School Performing Arts Instructional Facility, Texas Descon, LP, $812,982, Brownsville Academic Center, Brownsville Early College High School, for a grand total of $2,071,032.94 to be paid from Qualified School Construction Bond Fund 190, Local Maintenance Fund 199. Ms. Longoria.
Yes. Dr. Montoya, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record here, but I'm looking at page 228, and under letter B, additional services, it's an invoice dated July 1st. It's for Dan Breeden Elementary. The additional services, it's a recite fee for $83,650. We had already talked about this before, but if you can refresh my memory, was did administration go out for bids for this recite? Or
I don't think we did, because remember, Daniel Breeden was going to be built in another location originally, but this was the second choice location where obviously it was built. But Mr. Haynes, if you want to share some of
or Mr. Garza has info.
Mr. Garza, go ahead.
Ms. Longoria, as Dr. Montoya mentioned, this school was originally designed to be built at the Brownsville Country Club. All the construction documents, drawings, specifications were finished, but the decision was to not build at the country club and stop there. A few months later, when the Qualified School Construction Bond for 2009 came up, the decision was to use those drawings that we had already paid for and resite the elementary school to a new site, in this case, the property on Dana Road. At that time, the recite fee that the architect proposed was the $83,650, and that's mainly for all the civil work that had to be done, because on a different side, your entrances, your parking lots, all that changes. You have to do a new geotech study to be sure about the soils, how that changes. So back, and I don't have the exact date, but it's probably in the fall of '09, This fee was approved by the board to resite the school over at Dana Road, and that's what that fee is.
Okay, so this fee was added on to the contract?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what was the original amount of the contract before this? You added this fee to it?
The contract is the $672,000 that you see on top. It's
Okay.
the $11,213,000. That was the original contract amount, and we added the $83,650. So if you go down to the total item D, the total new amount is the $756,430.
Mr. Longoria, any other questions? Anybody else have any questions from the board?
I think I have one more question. On the same page in the middle where it says awarded construction amount, 11,213 times 6%, and it gives us an amount of 672,780. And then right underneath in parentheses, it's 785,700, or 6% of the construction cost to be determined after receipt of bids. Can you explain that a little bit to me?
Okay, in this case, it's the opposite of the previous, where we had to increase the fee for the architect. The estimated cost at that time was, and I don't have it here with me, but it was like $12 million for the construction. So the architect's fee was going to be $785,700, or 6% of the cost after the bid. Well, the bid that we accepted from the highest ranked contractor was $11,213,000. So in this case, the architect's fee went down. Instead of $785,700, it became $672,780.
Longoria?
Okay. All right. Fine. Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve item 17?
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Mrs. Peña, I think, seconded by Dr. Saavedra. All in
sorry.
favor? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 23, recommend approval to enter into an agreement with TASB to conduct a review of district pay plans. I'll open the floor for discussion. Anyone? If not, Mrs. Longoria?
Yes. Sorry.
It's all right. Ask us.
Dr. Montoya, when I was employed here at BISD, we hired TASB twice, and it didn't go very well because all it created was a lot of discontent and a lot of grievances. And so I was just wondering if you could research a little bit more, because $28,000 is a lot of money to pay a different route.
Dr. Montoya?
Hey, Dr. Atkinson, I think we were putting the package together, but you have more information.
Dr. Atkinson? Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Escobedo, Dr. Montoya, members of the board. The fiscal implication is not to exceed $28,000, but if you look in the backup, the actual cost is $24,900. There is some built-in reimbursements for travel when they come down to do the study. But this was one of the things that had been discussed by the board in June and then again in July. And when we got to September, that was the last comment that the board said, you know, we really do want to make sure this happens. So what we've been doing is making sure this last month that we had discussions with certain people in September. We went up, Mr. Garcia and I both went to Austin a couple weeks ago to finalize. We were there for a staffing update on for financial formulas as well as staffing formulas, and we were able. This is normally something that they would charge anywhere from $35,000 to $45,000 because they look at our student population number and then they affix an amount. And because we're currently doing a staffing formula review of the district, they were able to give us basically a majorly discounted rate. I know that there's a lot that needs to be done right now, and Patrick Hammis has already left. But one of the things that we put in your packet last month was a draft copy of the professional hiring schedule. And what we told them that we were going to do is, if this went through tonight, that's one of the things they're also going to review, because, and not so much the amounts, but the people that are placed on the professional hiring schedule, because normally you would only have teachers, counselors, librarians, and nurses, but we have about 18 to 20 categories on that hiring schedule. And for it to be a true professional hiring schedule for our teachers or our campus-based instructional staff, then we need to seriously look at the other ones that are on that professional hiring schedule. So it's going to look at also the co-curricular, extracurricular stipends, which was a big concern for the board, how we were able to make sure that we remain competitive, and there was a market value that was assessed, as well as what our current rates looked at. The other area, of course, is the pay structures for our classified staff. That was an issue also for the board back in June and July. So we really felt at this point this was really the best cost-effective way to ensure that we met the requirements of this task. It's a very sensitive task, and I agree. There will probably be some recommendations that some people will not agree with, but I think that it does require some serious and some very, it requires the expertise at the state level at this point that they can come in and make some serious recommendations to the board and to administration on how best to cost save and be cost effective. I think we're charged with that, and we take that very seriously. Thank you.
Mr. Longoria, did I answer your question?
Yes, and one more question.
Mr. Colunga?
Just a quick question. How did this compare to the services of Region 1 as far as the review?
No, they don't have this service. That's one thing.
Do they review the staffing formulas only, or
no? Region 1 doesn't.
That's not what they told me, but.
Well, okay.
Dr. Escobar?
Yes, that was my other comment, that if you had checked with Region 1. And also, do you have any idea what basis they're going, or what job market are they going to go to compare, to make the comparison?
Yes, Dr. Montoya, Dr. Escobedo, members of the board, they have identified, or they're going to be identifying peer districts. TA off of their website, they've already grouped us into a peer district because we're 50,000 or 48,000 and above. They're also looking at the staffing formula review they're currently doing right now. They have grouped us with Fort Bend ISD. They've grouped us with McAllen ISD because it's a valley district. PSJA ISD. They're looking also at North Side out of San Antonio, and there was one other district that they were looking at. Let's see, it was Fort Bend, North Side, McAllen, PSJA, and there was one. I'm sorry. I can't recall the last one. Nope. I can't recall the last one, but there was another district, similar sized district, that was being looked at as well. So
okay, good, because the last two times they were doing their comparing analysis with the public sector. And that's why I guess everybody was very unhappy, because it would just throw everyone, out of
And
line.
the only area, Ms. Longoria, if I may, the only area that they kind of look at that is when there's when it's a non-educational or instructional-based position. Then they look at a market value, like for a clerical staff member. I know that they're going to be looking at that for those that are more technical. They'll be looking at that. Some of our technology positions, I know that we have been currently working at a technology specialist position for the district. I know that our technology department has been looking at being able to move towards that for quite some time. So this also allows us, gives us the direction and the guidance to be able to place them appropriately on the scale.
Dr. Escobar?
Mrs. Peña?
And one thing that I want to assure myself, when everything's said and done, nothing gets done until it's approved through the board. Am I correct?
That's
At the bottom line, if we see something that's not comparable or it's just not going to make any sense, you don't want to weaken your bottom to hold a heavy top, which is, will make people unhappy.
That's correct, ma'am.
And one more thing, and this is a recommendation from our administration that we do approve this, so it'll help you move forward in this.
Yes.
I'd move to approve with that.
I have a motion, Mrs. Peña, seconded by Dr. Salvador. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Moving on to item 11, closed meetings pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071 et sec. Board goes to closed session to address personnel issues.
Only.
For 26, recommend approval probationary contractual personnel for 2011-2012 school year. Teachers subject to receipt of all outstanding documentation.
Move to approve.
Motion by Ms.
Ms. Peña.
Ms. Peña, second by Dr. Saavedra. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 27, recommend approval of term Chapter 21 contractual personnel for 2011-2012 school year assistant principal subject to receipt of all outstanding documentation. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion made by Ms. Peña. Do I have a second? Second by Dr. Saavedra. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. For the record, I will abstain on item number 27, and you have 4 yes. Yes. We now go to item number 29, recommend approval to waive DBA local for 2 professional employees, PAM and AS. Do I?
Ms. Presas, I make a motion that the board take no action, that this be left for administrative regulations.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We now go to announcements. Next scheduled board meeting of the Board of Trustees is on Tuesday, November the 1st, 2011, at Administrative Building at 5:30. Any announcements, Dr. Montoya?
No, ma'am, no other announcements.
I just want to make a comment. I'd like to congratulate all the pigskin participants, all our high schools. We were awesome. We rocked. So congratulations to all the high schools. Great job.
And I just have another comment or a statement. I want to thank everyone for all their Get Well Soon cards, the schools. Dr. Hernandez, thank you. Your area came through. They touched my heart like you have no belief. Second graders, I didn't know they had a passion to be able to write. I got little gifts. I want to thank everyone. My recovery is coming quickly. I'm very blessed with the community's prayers, and I thank you so much. I want to especially thank Dr. Montoya and Catalina Presas because they were there by my bedside, and my heart goes out to them because they were real warriors for me and fought for me, and I so thank you, and I pray God blesses you because what you did was something that was very special for me. Thank you for being there for me.
You're welcome, Ms. Peña. Any more announcements?
Other announcements.
That's the reason why you always take at least a buddy with you on a trip.
Thank God. Always a buddy system. Never fail.
This meeting is, do I have a motion for?
I move to adjourn.
Do I have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Meeting is now adjourned.